Welcome to the Secrets of the Bible channel. The beliefs and spirituality of public figures have long been subjects of intrigue and curiosity for the public. So, when visionary entrepreneur Elon mentioned Jesus on live TV, everyone was shocked to hear what he had to say. We all know that Elon Musk is a man of science, driven by his passion and commitment to innovation. But what he had to say about faith and salvation in an interview will definitely shock you. One aspect of Musk's life that has generated curiosity and speculation is his stance on religion and spirituality. Musk's views on religion are a matter of public interest because they provide insight into his worldview and the philosophical underpinnings that guide his actions and decisions. Musk's notable statements regarding religion came in a 2015 interview with Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. When asked about his thoughts on Mars colonization, Musk joked, "I'm trying to make Mars seem possible, to show that we can do it. Something we can aspire to. If someone can't make it, then send me a postcard." This light-hearted remark reflects his practical and scientific approach to addressing some of humanity's most significant challenges. His affinity for science and technology is evident in his endeavors to advance space exploration, electric vehicles, renewable energy, and artificial intelligence. His focus on these areas underscores his commitment to empirical evidence and the belief that human progress can be achieved through innovation and problem-solving. Although in a surprising turn of events, Elon Musk recently engaged in a profound discussion about religion, salvation, and the teachings of Jesus Christ. During an interview with the satirical website, The Babylon Bee. While The Babylon Bee is known for its comedic content, the conversation took a more serious and introspective tone as Musk delved into various topics with the website's CEO, Seth Dillon, editor-in-chief, Kyle Mann, and creative director, Ethan Nicolle. Their discussion ranged from politics and wokeness to the challenges of wealth. As the interview neared its end, Musk playfully remarked on the timing of their conversation, which happened to be on a Sunday, humorously suggesting that they were all destined for hell for not being in church. However, this light-hearted moment led to a significant and sincere question about salvation. Ethan Nicolle, with a hint of humor, but a genuine tone, asked Musk if he would consider accepting Jesus as his Lord and Savior. Let's take a moment to collect his thoughts before responding. "I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated. There's some great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with these teachings." He emphasized the importance of concepts like turn the other cheek and forgiveness, contrasting them with the notion of an eye for an eye. Surprisingly, he added, "But hey, if Jesus is saving people, I won't stand in his way. Sure, I'll be saved. Why not?" The host of the Babylon Bee celebrated Musk's response, suggesting that he had accepted the invitation. Wow, who knew it was so easy to be saved? When asked about baptism, Musk revealed that he had been baptized as a child, but still harbored questions about God, faith, and the biblical accounts of Jesus. This openness to exploring spirituality was evident when in 2020, after the successful splash landing of the Dragon capsule, he admitted, "I'm not very religious, but I prayed for this once." He described the achievement as something that could unite humanity and bring much-needed positivity to a world facing challenges. Elon Musk's candid and contemplative discussion about faith and salvation with the Babylon Bee. That sparked conversations about the intersection of science, technology, and spirituality. It remains to be seen how this conversation might influence Musk's belief and actions in the future, but it serves as a reminder that even in the world of innovation and entrepreneurship, individuals can grapple with questions of faith and purpose. This interview has triggered a spectrum of reactions across media and the public. Some media outlets chose to sensationalize the conversation, emphasizing the humor in Musk's remarks about salvation and creating attention-grabbing headlines. Others took a more analytical approach, seeing Musk's comments as an opportunity to explore the intersection of faith, technology, and personal beliefs. They engaged theologians and religious scholars to dissect the significance of his statements on social media platforms, also played a crucial role in amplifying the conversation, with people from diverse backgrounds sharing their opinions and thoughts. Interpretation of Musk's comments varied widely, with some perceiving it as a potential shift in his beliefs, while others saw it as a casual acknowledgement of the wisdom in Jesus' teachings. The interview also sparked critiques about the boundaries of satire and serious disclosure in media. Furthermore, It shed light on the complex relationship between spirituality and the tech industry, challenging the perception that these fields are mutually exclusive. In addition, public reactions gathered through interviews and surveys revealed the diversity of perspectives on Musk's comments, underscoring the subjective nature of belief in spirituality. But what are the key takeaways from his statements during the interview? Elon Musk's statements regarding his alignment with the principles and teachings of Jesus Christ carry significant implications. At its core, his acknowledgement reflects his respect for the ethical and moral precepts associated with Jesus' teachings, such as forgiveness and turning the other cheek. By expressing agreement with these principles, he underscores their value in guiding human behavior toward compassion and empathy. However, it's essential to note that his statement is not a declaration of religious conversion. It appears to be a secular appreciation for the ethical ideals presented in the Bible. The key implication of Musk's statement is the insight it offers into his personal beliefs and values. Being a prominent figure in the tech and business world, his words hold significant weight and are subject to scrutiny. His alignment with the moral teachings of Jesus suggests that these principles might guide his personal life and could influence his decision-making and leadership. His openness regarding ongoing questions about God, faith, and biblical accounts of Jesus also reveals a complex and evolving perspective on spirituality. This could inspire others to contemplate their own beliefs and values, understanding the connection between personal convictions and actions. And moreover, his statement blurs the boundaries between science, technology, and faith. Traditionally, these fields were considered separate, with science and technology addressing the tangible world, while faith focused on spiritual matters. Musk's readiness to engage with the moral teachings of Jesus challenges this distinction and accentuates the intricate link between belief systems and technological progress. In essence, his statements act as a stimulus for profound contemplation about the significance of spirituality, ethics, and moral values in people's lives, irrespective of their profession or expertise. It underscores the idea that ethical and moral guidelines are pivotal in shaping one's trajectory, influencing both their personal and professional lives. In an era marked by swift technological advancements, his words highlight the timeliness, importance, values, and principles that foster empathy, compassion, and trust. Benevolence. Considering Elon Musk's comment, let's discuss potential reactions from various religious groups. Elon Musk's statement expressing alignment with the principles and teachings of Jesus Christ is bound to elicit a myriad of reactions from different religious communities. Within Christianity, Musk's statements will likely provoke diverse reactions, mirroring the vast array of Christian denominations and individual convictions. Some Christians might interpret Musk's alignment with Jesus' teachings as an encouragement acknowledging of moral values that transcend secular borders. They may perceive his concurrence with teachings like turn the other cheek as a laudable acknowledgement of universal ethics. For some, this could indicate that Musk might be exploring Christianity more deeply, possibly hinting at a future conversion. His statement might kindle hope that he is progressing towards a closer relationship with Christianity. Conversely, some Christians might scrutinize Musk's statements more critically, while appreciating his nod to Jesus' teachings. They might anticipate a clearer redeclaration of faith or dedication to Christian doctrine. Some might interpret his words as being more philosophical or ethical, rather than theological. This caution might arise from a desire for a clearer picture of Musk's beliefs, given the breadth and depth of Christian doctrines and practices, which encompass Christ's divinity, salvation, and religious sacraments. Additionally, some Christians might remain wary, perceiving his comments as lacking depth or not encompassing the entirety of Christian belief. They might regard a statement as acknowledging moral teachings but not necessarily indicating a deep spiritual change. Such skepticism could stem from the belief that authentic Christian faith requires a personal bond with Jesus Christ, often expressed through religious rituals, sacraments, and adherence to specific doctrines. For these individuals, Musk's comments might not meet the benchmark for a full-fledged conversion to Christianity. They might see them as primarily philosophical rather than theological. In contrast with Judaism, which predates Christianity and maintains its unique doctrines and practices, Musk's statements might not have the same religious significance as it does with a Christian context. In Jewish theology, Jesus' recognition as the Messiah is not acknowledged. Jewish individuals typically do not consider the New Testament as a sacred text, nor Jesus as a divine figure. Consequently, Musk's acknowledgement of Jesus' teachings might be viewed as unrelated to Jewish beliefs. However, some Jewish individuals and groups might appreciate the broader message of moral and ethical values that Jesus' teachings promote. They might see Musk's comments as reflecting universal principles that transcend religious boundaries. For them, the emphasis on compassion, justice, and love for one's neighbor aligns with core Jewish ethics, while the religious significance of Jesus is distinct in Judaism. There might be recognition that the moral principles he advocated can resonate with a broader audience and serve as ethical guidance. In the context of Islam, this discussion is noteworthy. Jesus, known as Isa in Arabic, holds a significant position as a prophet in Islamic tradition. Though Islam doesn't attribute divinity to Jesus, it acknowledges his role as a messenger of God, conveying divine guidance to humanity. Elon's alignment with Jesus' teachings might be viewed as an endorsement of shared moral values, considering that many ethical principles in Jesus' teachings align with Islamic values. Islam emphasizes compassion, charity, and forgiveness, which are also underscored in Christ's teachings. As a result, many Muslims might see Musk's statement as a commendable recognition of universally virtuous principles. However, some Muslims might approach Musk's remarks with caution. While valuing the alignment with moral principles, they might understand that his statement doesn't imply a formal conversion to Islam or a direct endorsement of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. The central figure in Islam. Elon Musk's comments could be interpreted as acknowledging shared ethical values rather than specific religious doctrines. Thus, interpretations within the Muslim community might vary, ranging from positive reception to cautious optimism. Buddhism, emphasizing mindfulness, compassion, and the pursuit of enlightenment, finds common ground with some of Jesus Christ's ethical teachings. The values of compassion, empathy, and loving kindness are pivotal to Buddhist ethics. Elon Musk's acknowledgement of these principles might resonate with Buddhists, as it promotes values aligned with Buddhist teachings. Buddhists might interpret his statement as endorsing universally significant values, as an invitation of interfaith dialogue to explore shared moral ideals. Conversely, Hinduism, with its vast array of beliefs and practices, might not have a unanimous response to Musk's statement. Hinduism covers a broad range of theological and philosophical perspectives, without being bound by a singular set of beliefs or doctrines. For those identifying as atheists or secular humanists, Elon Musk's statement might be seen as endorsing secular ethics and humanistic values. Recognizing the moral principles associated with Christ's teachings could be interpreted as highlighting the importance of general ethics, irrespective of religious ties. His remarks might affirm the value of compassion, empathy, and ethical conduct in secular, humanistic. Tucker felt a profound shift after the Trump incident. The shooting marked a transformation in Trump's role. This convention is different. The nation is different. The world is different. Donald Trump is different. When he stood up after being shot in the face, bloodied, and put his hand up, I thought at that moment, that was a transformation. This was no longer a man. No longer just a nominee. Trump became a true leader of the nation, Tucker claims. Well, I think it was divine intervention, but the effect that it had on Donald Trump, he was no longer just a political party's nominee or a former president or a future president. This was the leader of a nation. President is a title that is bestowed by a process of some sort that can be subverted. And I think there's a difference. I've spent most of my life in Washington where the president is at the top of the pyramid and everyone wants to be the president. But if you think about it, the presidency comes with great power, obviously. But if you think about it, that is a title that is bestowed by a process of some sort that can be subverted. Simply calling oneself president holds little inherent meaning. And in the end, it does not confer by itself, as no title does legitimacy. Just because you call yourself the president doesn't mean that much inherently. I can call my dog the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, it doesn't mean she is. With enough cheating, even a mannequin could be president, Tucker says. No, it's true. And you hate to say it, but it is also true, is a fact that you could take, I don't know, a mannequin, a person, and make him president. You could, I'm just saying, theoretically possible with enough with enough cheating that could happen. But being a leader is very different. It's not a title, it's organic. You can't name someone a leader. A leader is the bravest man. That's who the leader is. That is true in all human organizations. This is a law of nature. And in that moment, Donald Trump, months before the presidential election, became the leader of this nation. That was the most obvious to me. And I have to say, I think it changed him. I reached out to Trump within hours of it that night. And what he said to me that night, having just been shot in the face, he said not a single word about himself. He said only how amazed he was and how proud he was of the crowd, which didn't run. And I thought two things. The first thing I thought was, well, of course they didn't run. His courage gave them heart. A leader's courage gives courage to his people. And the second thing I thought was, this is the selfish guy I've been hearing about for 9 years, really. Not a word about himself? About his people, period. And the second thing I noticed, which I don't think anyone has remarked upon in public, but I'm just going to since I don't have a script, like why not, is that he turned down the most obvious opportunity in politics to inflame the nation after being shot. To inflame the nation. Which is an opportunity that almost every other politician I've ever met, and certainly his opponents, would have taken instantly. And they would have said, well, what is this? How did he get shot? Like, how did this happen? And those are real questions that we have to get to the bottom of. Donald Trump did his best to bring the country together after being shot last week. But in the moments, the days, the week after the shooting, he did not say that he did his best to bring the country together. And I thought, this is the divisive figure. This is the irresponsible person. No, this is the most responsible, unifying behavior of a leader I think I've ever seen, and I could go on for hours, but let me just sum it up. I do think the entire point from the famous escalator ride 9 years ago until today of Donald Trump's public life has been to remind us of one fact, which is a leader's duty is to his people, to his country, and to no other. That's the point. That's the only point. And another word for this is democracy. Democracy, in case you're a little sick of being beaten in the face with democracy on television. Actual democracy is the proposition that the citizens of a country own that country. They're not renters, they're not serfs, they are the owners of the country. And for that to be true, their leaders have to represent them, which is another way of saying they have to do what the people want them to do, or a close approximation thereof. But if they completely ignore what people want, not just 1 year, but generationally, say for 50 years, then it may be, I don't know what, it's not a democracy. And so I think the entire Trump project paradoxically is attacked as an enemy of democracy, is to return democracy to the United States. Hey, let's pay attention to what people actually want. And the lack of interest in that question in Washington is something that ultimately drove me out of the city after 35 years. Lawmakers stepping over the prostrate bodies of their fellow citizens, ODing on to go cast votes to send money to some foreign country. Yeah, actually, we've lost more Americans from in the past 4 years than we lost in World II. Yeah, our bloodiest more than we lost in World II. Does anybody care? It is pathetic. It is pathetic. And do you hear a single word from Washington about doing anything? We know where they're coming from. We know the supply routes. The US military spent billions bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Our current commander-in-chief fails to suggest military protection for our nation. You don't see our commander-in-chief suggesting that we use our military to protect our country or the lives of its citizens. No, and it's too much. Actually, it's too insulting. It's too insulting. It's a middle finger in the face of every American. It's a very clear statement, which is unmistakable, and that is, we don't care about you. And Donald Trump, whatever you say about him. And I think he's a wonderful person. I know him well. By the way, the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Actually, you can't be funny without perspective or without empathy, which is true. But everything else about Trump aside, he actually cares. Because he's interested in the people who live here, because that's his job. A father's job. His duty is to his family. An officer's duty is to his men. A president's duty is to his citizens. So I will stop on just one point. And that is what's happened over the past month, since the debate. And particularly on Saturday in Butler, I think a lot of people are wondering, what is this? This doesn't look like politics. Something bigger is going on here. I think even people who don't believe in God are beginning to think, well, maybe there's something to this. The day after the midterm elections in 2018, Antifa came to my house, the Democratic Party's militia. Okay, I was at work. It was obvious when I was at work because it was public. My wife was home alone. They tried to come in through the front door. She hid in her pantry. It was on television. It was horrible, actually. It was on, not whining about it. I wasn't getting shot in the face, but it wrecked our day. And the next morning we're lying in bed, and the phone rings for my wife, and it's Donald Trump. Who's not like a regular text buddy of Donald Trump's. She picks it up. Hello, Susie, it's Donald Trump. And it's coming through. I can hear it. You know, I'm lying in bed. Oh, and the first thing he says is, I'm gonna stand guard outside your house. And she goes, oh, that's so nice. And he says, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He says, you know, there's a lot of hate out there. And she said, you know, there is, Mr. President. And then he says, but there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. Trump recounts the harrowing details of the incident. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the bullet came within 1/4 of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me what happened. Tell us what happened, please. And therefore I will tell you exactly what happened. And you'll never hear it from me a second time, because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily. Because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. Very much. We were very proud of it behind me, and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right, and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do. Trump immediately knew. It was very serious when he heard a loud whizzing sound. When I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear, I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet, and moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood. Just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly, as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later in almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired. Crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It was very unusual. Bullets were flying over us yet. I felt serene, but now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance, and with only one bullet used, took the other guy's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here. Elon shares his own experience of facing life-threatening danger. Well, so here's the thing that happens, which is like, it's very rare for me to get actually threats or anything, but I'd say in the last related to actually like no one's ever said, well, I've got this terrible beef against you and I'm going to you because of the following well-thought-out ideas, but I have had 2 cases in last 6 months were of 2 people who are just, unfortunately, just very mentally ill, but not subtle. It's not subtle. It's like, And they have come to Austin to try and with guns. So like I said in both cases that there's no what one guy thought I'd put a chip in his head, like a neural ink chip or something, and I'm like, but I think you got to consider the logic of that well. The chip's obviously not working if I was putting a chip in to crawl and control him. Still not working. So what do you like an upgrade? Maybe a software update or something. So one guy basically just extreme schizophrenic, and another guy, he's actually reasonably okay when he's on his meds. But he stopped taking his meds, and then it's just total detachment from reality. The probability of receiving threat is proportionate to the number of people who've heard your name, right? Like a first-order approximation. Even if you've done really nothing controversial, is that like a sort of a homicidal maniac is going to, or an aspiring homicidal maniac, the vast majority are simply threats and nothing more, but an aspiring homicidal maniac is going to target you proportionate to the number of times they hear your name. So now, in my case, they will hear my name.